people in this country are angry and they're worried that their country is being hijacked by czars, by communists, socialists. I don't know when you put the name and the list up there. There's runaway spending going on. People aren't feeling like their voices are even being heard. And now they're starting to feel like they're being silenced. Well, that means a rise in right-wing militias, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Dr. Keith Ablow, a psychiatrist and Fox News contributor, is with us. Keith, I have a real concern on what is happening with these with this report, because I think we're being set up. Quite frankly, I think there are. I think it's almost like they're setting the stage. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, you're not crazy. Listen, it's good you have a psychiatrist available. I'll tell you if I think you're tending in that direction. Not at all. Yeah, exactly. I'll call you. Not at all in this case. When people get to be tongue-tied, Glenn, what's the natural reaction that occurs? They get angry, right? And so they don't know what to do with that anger necessarily. And there is the risk that somebody would resort to a display of violence in order to express that person or that group's feelings. It's very much to be avoided because it plays right into the opposite camp's agenda to silence people and then paint them as crazy.
Exactly right. And this is something I've been talking about for 2 years, that there would be somebody, some nut job that would rise up, would think I'm a patriot, and they will destroy the republic. But you know what? In this review, they talk about how I have talked about the government, and I mean, I want to give you some of the things they said. Listen to the way they have painted this. Fox News host Glenn Beck, who has called Obama a fascist, I don't believe I have. A Nazi, I haven't. A Marxist, I have. Even refloated militia conspiracy theories of the 1990s, alleging a secret network of government-run concentration camps. I debunked those. I'm sorry I brought it up to debunk them. The original movement also had its mainstream backers, but they were largely confined to talk radio, another villain. Today, Beck is just one of the well-known cable TV news personalities to air fictitious conspiracies and other unlikely patriot ideas. Gee, I sound like a bad guy.
Well, exactly right. See, so what's happening is that because you're speaking out, opponents of yours are saying, number one, that you're crazy, right? That you have conspiracy theories, you're delusional.
Right.
The next thing that they'll say is not only that, but he's violent, right? And I can tell you from having run psychiatry units that the place that it's hardest to listen to people legitimately, even if you're a therapist, is when somebody's headed into restraints or the quiet room because they've become assaultive. So the way to get people to stop listening to you, Glenn, is first to say, don't listen, he's just crazy. And the second way is to say, not only is he crazy, but he's violent crazy.
So, Keith,
that's the strategy.
Give me the best advice.
To be avoided.
Give me the best advice, because I have been telling people on the radio and television, you go to these town halls, you bring a video camera. You make sure somebody has a record in case somebody says, he threw a punch at me. You make sure you have the truth on record. The last thing you do is throw a punch. No matter how many, because I've seen these SEIU guys. Man, they are poking and poking and poking. They want you to throw a punch. Don't do it. Is that, what's the best advice? Is that it?
That's the best advice, and this. You know what? When people say don't speak, you turn out in greater numbers at more places with more quiet persistence and more questions. So you know what, it's just as effective to say to somebody, you know what, I'm sorry, I'll have to ask the question again, because I don't think, Senator, you've answered it. Or I don't think, Congressman or Congressperson, you've answered my question. Let me ask it again. Let them be the ones to say, remove that man from the microphone. He's asked his question too many times. I think less volume in terms of loudness and more volume in terms of questions and people. That's what you have to do. When people accuse you of being loud, violent, angry, and crazy, you got to lower your tone. Take a step back and say, I'm sorry, there's a line of people behind me, I know that, and there are probably hundreds or thousands, but I still don't understand what you're saying about the health care plan. Maybe it's me.
Keith, I think everybody is saying that for a long time. Maybe it's got to be just me. Help me out on this. I've noticed on the other networks that they are running a ton of anti-gun stories, like the guy who killed the women in a horrible story in Pittsburgh. But they're still running that story, and they're making the point over and over again, crazy gun person. I'm seeing a lot of these. Then they're identifying all of the 912ers, the Tea Party, everything. Crazy people, angry people. Then they're showing or claiming that there are people that are Nazis that are showing up and using and making Obama look like a Nazi. And they're all pointing out that's very dangerous. Can we show the pictures of all the Bush posters that were made? These are all the Bush posters that were made. Did you hear the media say these people are crazy or dangerous when they were holding up these pictures and putting them up on the internet? Did anyone claim they were violent or crazy? Then yesterday, something that just clicked, CNN banned talk radio hosts on CNN, so you can't have any talk radio hosts anymore. What is that? What's happening here? Why is Fox standing alone? What's going on?
Well, I think that unfortunately what you have is a kind of a retrenchment, a kind of siege mentality, where the ideas that are being put forward very much, as I've used the analogy before with you, like a parent who doesn't want to be questioned, just do what I say, I don't want any back talk, and if there is, you'll be sent to your room. Now, that's what's happening over at CNN. Go to your room. We don't need any talk radio show hosts because we're just going to talk about the category, not individuals, because individuals have voices, Glenn. But if we generalize to a category of people, well, a category doesn't have a voice particularly. They'll have to organize to have a voice, and then they'll be called an angry mob. It's a shell game.
Unless you're the AFL-CIO or any union or ACORN or anything like that. Keith, as always, thanks.
All right.
Want to pay for a new bike path or a farmer's market as part of your health care coverage? Didn't think so.